welcome to Project Recovery, a podcast about addiction. More importantly, it's about recovery, and it's brought to you by our friends at KnowYourScript.org. KnowYourScript.org, a wealth of knowledge when it comes to talking to yourself, to your doctors, to your loved ones, to family members about opioids. Is there a safer alternative? What should I be doing? How do I store them? Where do I put them? All of that can be found right there at KnowYourScript.org. I'm Casey Scott. That's Dr. Matt Woolley. He's a clinical psychologist. Just wrapping up Christmas. I can tell you from the Scott household and the Harris household, because that's my girlfriend's last name. Double household. Yeah, and it's amazing. My girlfriend really goes above and beyond when it comes to holiday. Like, she has, have you ever seen that show with, who's the gladiator guy? Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. The Beautiful Mind? Yeah. You know, and he's got all schizophrenia. All those things. Well, my girlfriend doesn't have schizophrenia. Okay, good. But you know how he's got all those pictures on the walls, and you look up there and you go, that's just a jumbly mess, but to him it makes sense? Yeah. That's how she can look at an Amazon account. You know what I mean? It's just like, I go, what are your, and she goes, you know, and just saving deals and getting her beautiful mind just processes all of that. It's like a computer. I believe it. You know, and it's pretty cool. So my kids had a wonderful Christmas. Her kids had a wonderful Christmas, and everything was just good. And now we're gearing up for the new year. How was your Christmas, Dr. Matt? It was great. We went up to my parents' house in Morgan for Christmas Eve. A good old country Christmas Eve? Yeah, my sister and her family came in from Oregon and got together, so it was fun. We did that and then just went back to the house in Bountiful and hung out. My kids are older than your kids, so Christmas is a lot more laid back. Everybody still loves it, but nobody's waking up at the crack of dawn. It's really the best time for Christmas because I can sleep in, 8 o'clock rolls around and we get around to it, So we've got Bowden, and he's 10. Is he a crack of dawn Christmas morning guy? Get up. The elf came, Dad. Yeah, 4:30. He's let's do it. Yeah, he's setting traps. He's putting powdered sugar on there to track the tracks. And he's doing all that stuff. Awesome. So it's a magical time of year. And then when that's all said and done, Dr. Matt, people start looking to the new year. We got this week in between where a lot of people are off work or doing less work, a lot of just kind of recuperating, I think, and getting ready for a fun New Year's Eve. And I've never been a big fan of New Year's Eve because to me, it's kind of, there's this huge buildup, and there's supposed to be something magical that happens, and then all this stuff. And it's like Valentine's. So it's like, it feels made up. Yeah. So one time when I was drinking. Yeah. I was drinking a lot. Mm-hmm. We know. I was DJing at a New Year's Eve party. And I was 10 seconds late on New Year's. My buddy goes, the ball dropped and you're like, 10, 9. It was not good. I didn't get paid that night. It was that must have been bad. Dude. It was not good. You kind of have to be on time that one time. Yeah. Right? I remember all your other jobs through the year, you could be 10 seconds late. But like all my friends would be like, hey, remember when you were 10 seconds late on New Year's? And I was like, yeah. See, I would have thought you liked New Year's because you like to party and you have a lot of fun friends and you guys go do fun stuff. And no, I mean, I did for that reason, alone. It was a big party. But then when you start But it's kind of artificial, right? It kind of feels made up. It's like, okay, you watch the ball drop on TV. Well, I'll tell you right now, for like real drinkers, which I consider myself because I'm an alcoholic, it's amateur night. Oh, okay. It's where all the guys come to the bar, all the girls come to the bar, they get really stupid drunk and all that stuff. And then one time, the year that the bar's really packed and you're like, where are you guys the rest of the days, man? Yeah. You know what I mean? You guys, I just got posers. Yeah, posers. I'm here all the time. Right. You guys just show up one day and make it take an hour to get a drink. Go back home. They should make a New Year's resolution not to be no, they shouldn't. But it's funny that you bring up New Year's resolutions because it's also the time where a lot of self-reflection is happening, and people will start to say, well, 2022, it's going to be a new year, a new me, or it's going to be different, or this is what I'm going. And I hear a lot of people say, new year, new me. Yeah, I've heard that. And not sometimes, it just rubs me wrong because I don't think the new year needs a new you. I think the new year needs a better you. I think sometimes we need to look back and look at the things that make us unique, that make us who we are. The good, the bad, and the ugly, because we all have them. We live in this world where social media glamorizes all the good things, and it never talks about any of the bad things. No, in fact, you hardly ever
see anything but, somebody's buying a new car, they're on vacation in some amazing place.
And the reality is we don't know if that's a vacation or if that's a green screen or the car you're in front of is really yours. You're just putting out the world just to flex and do that. But I have learned more in these past 3 years about myself and who I am and what makes me happy and where I want to be. Because for the first time in my life, I was sober and able to look inside and go, what am I really about? What do I want to be? What do I want to be remembered as? What makes me me? And I've said it on this podcast and the other podcast I did with Tom. I'm a selfish person, and I know that. But I also tell people that I'm a selfish person. I'm not always selfish, but I will do what I want to do.
I think you're less selfish than you used to be, though. That's my opinion. Yeah, observing, because I think of what you're talking about, the self-reflection, and realizing that by not being selfish, you get more of what you want.
Yeah, but if I sat here and told you that I'm perfect and I'm all these things, but there's certain times that I'm selfish and I want to do what I want to do, and I'm going to try to make it go my way. I've also know when to pick my battles now, and I go, well, this ain't worth it. Prime example, me and my girlfriend. I was golfing a lot. And I was golfing every Saturday and Sunday.
You were, 4 or 5 days a week? Easy.
4 days at least a week. Yeah. And I was golfing every Saturday and Sunday. And my girlfriend sat me down. And to be fair, my ex-wife sat me down when I was doing this when we were married. And she goes, do you think that's okay? Do you think it's cool that you go golfing every Saturday and Sunday and just leave me to do whatever I want? And I go, well, you can do whatever you want. She goes, I want to be with you.
Mm. That's a good girlfriend answer.
And I go, yeah, but we can be after, but it's always on your time. And I go, yeah. You know what? So here's the deal. I'm not going to go both days. That was a tough sell to me, man.
Well, I would imagine that's a big...
Because I'm used to doing what I want when I want.
I hear you.
But that's not how the real world works. And so...
So is that a new you now? Or is that a different version of you?
It's a better me. Okay. It's a less selfish version of me. Yeah. And there's times that I'm still selfish, but I want to go back and talk about that. You don't need a new you. You need a better you. You are enough. You are unique. You are wonderful. You are beautiful. You are a disaster. You're all these things.
So I have to confess something.
Yeah.
I know I make fun of you for getting your news on Facebook. Uh-huh. But I learned something from Facebook actually just this morning. Not in preparation to talk to you about this because I didn't know this is what we were going to talk about. There's a little interview clip with Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Sir Anthony. And I love him. He's always kind of an interesting guy.
And if I remember, I think he's in recovery.
He's in recovery, yeah. And I actually thought that's what it was going to be. And I don't know if this interview was associated with recovery or not. But I clicked on the audio so I could hear him because I like his voice. And he said, the interviewer said, do you have, kind of looking back on your life, your career, do you have any regrets? And he thought about it for a second. You could tell he didn't have a ready to go answer. And he said something to the effect, so don't, pretend I'm quoting him, but he said something to the effect of, no, I don't have any regrets. Life's too short for that. And then he goes on to explain. He said, I've been a good man. I've been a bad man. I've done good things. I've done bad things. At some point, you just have to learn from those things, forgive yourself, and move on and be the best person you can be today.
That's what I'm talking about, Sir Anthony Hopkins.
Right.
Because, that's the reality of where we are in the world we live in. And they tell you that when you're in recovery. You know what I mean? You can't live in the past, and you can't predict the future. And if you try to do both those things, you're just crushing the present. And that's all we have.
And don't you think that there's this element that you've probably seen when you were in recovery, and I've seen it in therapy, people sometimes are running away from who they are.
Yes.
And that means ditching the good parts of yourself as well. They're trying to run away from that. And running away doesn't work because everywhere you go, there you are, right? You're stuck with yourself. And so people who can't accept themselves for who they are can't really get a baseline for improving themselves. And so that kind of dovetails into one of the things that is that, this statement rubs you wrong. One that really rubs me wrong is people will say I'm broken.
Oh.
And I get that. I get it. Oh, boy. I know that people feel broken sometimes.
I felt broken when all my friends could seem to drink like gentlemen or walk away from a beer, or they didn't ruin their lives. They didn't get a DUI. They didn't get in a crash. They didn't almost kill people. And I thought, why am I broken? I'm eternally broken.
There's something wrong with me. And I get that. I get the feeling. So I have empathy for that. But I don't really like the sentiment. I certainly don't like it in therapy, because I have a developmentalist point of view as a therapist. And that is that we're all in development. From the moment we are born to the moment we die, we're in development. We're in the process of becoming who we are. And the minute that process stops, we stop growing and problems start. So if you can look at yourself and think, maybe despite my age, there are aspects of me that are underdeveloped. Maybe even though I'm 50 years old, maybe there's some maturities and things that I never really developed for various reasons. And if I look at myself as underdeveloped, I think that's much healthier and more, you can get motivated and optimistic about the fact that, yeah, I'm not broken per se. I don't need a brand new version of me. I just need to develop myself. And some parts of my development are spot on and maybe even advanced, but then there are aspects of myself that I still need to work on. And so for people in recovery, I think that's a healthier way to see yourself, because it's motivating to realize, hey, some parts of myself are fantastic and I've spent a lot of time developing good qualities. But there are some of these other ones that maybe in this new year I could target for some more specific development. And I think that's a healthier way of setting New Year's resolutions as opposed to New Year, New Me.
In the Scott household, when it was Christmas or birthdays or summer or whatever, and something was delivered that needed to be put together, I was your guy.
You're the man.
I was the guy in the family that would take it out of the box and put it together.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing I used to pride myself on.
Not having to read instructions?
I don't have to read the instructions. Come on, man. I got this figured out.
It's for chumps.
I got this figured out. And you could use this as a metaphor for life. And there were some times that I didn't need the instructions. I put it together and it's still working to this day, or it's still assembled and everything's good. But every once in a while I'd get to some place and I'd be like, this is broken. They just must have sent me the wrong things.
Yeah.
And
why do I have all these extra screws?
Yeah, extra parts.
Yeah.
They don't come with extra parts, my mom would say. And so every once in a while my mom or my dad or my brothers would be like, hey, why don't you read the instructions?
Yeah.
So I'd read the instructions and just realize that I didn't do one thing here, I didn't do that, and if I did that, all of a sudden it's back together.
Right.
Sometimes we just need a little instructions, a little help. So that brings me to a point I want to talk with you, because when people reach out to me on Facebook, Instagram, emails, whatever they do, they're looking for help. They're looking to get pointed in some direction. And my first go-to is, have they seen a therapist? I never thought I would be a guy promoting therapy as much as I do, but I go, have they seen a therapist? Because a therapist is usually a good jumping off point. They can help them kind of figure out what's going on and where to go, and then navigate them in the direction that they need to be.
I think that's true, of course. I mean, that's my profession, part of my profession. But I think that what's great about a therapist is it's not a friend. It's not a family member.
They don't have any skin in the game.
They're just there to let you talk and listen and advise, and sometimes help you see things like the instructions that you're talking about that you didn't see, steps that maybe you skipped, looking at things from a different point of view because they don't have skin in the game.
But I know therapists are in high demand right now. I know people who have been like, I've got an appointment with a therapist, but it's not until late January or early February. And that seems to be pretty standard right now.
Unfortunately, yeah. I wish that were not the case, but it is.
So before we go to break, I want to ask you this question. Is there reading material? Is there books? Or is there certain maybe people could go to kind of get some insight themselves? I don't want to say therapy for dummies, those books that have, subjects on everything. But is there some out there that, can help people kind of go, well, maybe this is a road I should go down?
I'm going to give you, I'll give you some book ideas when we come back from the break. But I do have two in mind right now. I think a good book can be very, very helpful. It's not a replacement for a therapist, but in the meantime, while you're waiting to get into see your therapist, I have some ideas.
I also want to talk about meditation and what it can do for the soul. You're listening to Project Recovery right here on KSF.
Welcome back to Project Recovery. I'm Casey Scott. That's Dr. Matt Woolley. What you're getting today is kind of a hodgepodge of kind of meanderings that are going through our head, through our minds, to prepare you for the new year.
I think we're unwinding between Christmas and New Year's right now.
This is like the Canadian version of Boxing Day. Yeah, we're just unpacking everything, just letting it out and getting ready to go. Before we took a break, we were talking about the importance or the benefits of finding a good therapist, which is hard to do right now.
Right.
Because they are in demand through the pandemic and COVID and people's anxiety and everything is heightened right now. So I asked you, is there a book that people could go to to get them through until they can find a therapist, or maybe see if this is something that they want to explore? And you said you got 2 books in mind.
I have 2 books in mind. And the funny thing is, I think people think, or at least people ask me this question, do you have a book to recommend for this or that?
I don't want to read anything by Freud. I don't have any mom issues.
Yeah, nobody does, right?
I do.
But I don't really have a lot of books that I recommend. That's the truth. I don't peruse the self-help shelves because it's become such a business. But there are a few authors that are legit, and there are some books that are very helpful. And I absolutely 100% believe that if you're serious about improving yourself, making changes, getting healthier mentally and emotionally, doing that development we talked about earlier in the show, then you can't just expect to walk in and have a therapist fix it for you 1 hour a week. There are things you need to be doing in between. And a good therapist knows that, and they'll be helping you with it. And one of those is reading. There are some good reading materials out there. So let's start with a book by Martin Seligman, with an S. Seligman. He's the real deal, past president of American Psychological Association, the founder of Positive Psychology Research Center at University of Pennsylvania. He's not just some guy writing books for you. And he has written a book, it's about a decade old now, called Learned Optimism.
Learned Optimism. Now, I know you brought this up before on the podcast.
I have, yep.
And you said optimism is a skill and a trait.
It's a trait. Optimism is a trait that's highly associated with happiness and success, positivity. People who rate high in optimism, everything in life is better for them. They're more educated, they make more money, they like their jobs more, they have happier relationships, all those good things. They're healthier. So there's a lot of research that goes into the fact that optimism is a trait. And the cool thing is it's a trait you can improve on. So regardless of where you've started in life, if you were born as super optimistic or if you're a little negative Nelly, doesn't matter where you started, you can improve. And so Learned Optimism is a book that has a test in it, tells you where you're at on the optimism scale. It gives you exercises. He's actually, unlike a lot of psychologists, he's an interesting writer. Like, he's kind of funny and entertaining. So he has a lot of good examples and analogies that help you understand the concept. He talks about research, but in an interesting way. He has a TED Talk that if you're like, well, I'm not going to buy a book, well, at least take 23 minutes and listen to his TED Talk, Martin Seligman. And Learned Optimism, you can use cognitive and behavioral skills to improve and increase your optimism, and therefore just improve your life. Pessimism is associated with depression. So if you're walking around, if Christmas has been hard for you, if the inversion and the darker days and all of those things are tough, you could use a dose of optimism. So I would say that would be a good one.
I used to say, people say, is your cup half empty or your cup half full? I used to say I was just happy to have a cup. Because now I'm in the game. And so it's up to me whether I want to feel it or don't feel it.
Right.
And I used to tell my dad that I was an optimist. And my dad, who's got this kind of regal voice. And
he does.
He's always got an answer. And
your dad should play like a general in an army movie or
He's
something.
been in a movie with Scott Glenn called Slaughter of the Innocents. It was filmed here in Utah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, he was also in Reuben and Ed.
Reuben and Ed.
Yeah, he was in that. He got hit in the nose by Karen Black. But he would go, there's optimist, there's pessimist, I'm a realist. And I'd be like, what does that mean? He goes, it is what it is. And I go, it's not. I don't believe that. I don't believe is what it is. When people say is what it is.
So I'm going to say this at the risk of getting punched in the nose by your dad. Everybody who tells me that they're a realist, they're just a pessimist in disguise. That's the truth.
No, I get it.
That's just the truth.
He goes, is what it is. And I go, no, it is what you want it to be.
It's your perception that determines your reality. I 100% believe that. And it's how you look at things that determines your experience in life. And if you have a pessimistic bent on what you're seeing, then all the emotions that come with pessimism, like feeling depressed and down and anxious and all those things, that's going to be part of your experience. Optimists, the only time, and Seligman points this out in the book, the only time that it's probably a little bit better to be a pessimist than an optimist is when your life is on the line. So, if you're like, well, I'm going to go parachuting, should I check my parachute one more time to make sure it's packed right? Nah, I'm okay. That's not the best time to be an optimist.
The dude with the Grateful Dead shirt looks like he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I'm all right.
I'm all right. Yeah, the pessimist lives longer in those sorts of cases. But other than life and limb, the optimist wins out in life.
Let me ask you this, because we don't really have a script for today or any day. What about Brene Brown? A lot of people swear by this lady, and when I was in recovery, there was many classes.
She has a lot of great things to say.
There was many classes that we would sit down and listen to her talking about shame, and she has some great TED Talks, and there's, like, in the recovery world, she is everywhere.
Yeah.
Tell me, for the people at home who maybe haven't heard of Brene Brown, do you know anything about her?
All I know is I think I don't actually know if she's a psychologist or if she's a social worker, but I know she's a mental health professional. She, I think, has been, or perhaps still is, a lecturer somewhere at a university. She's very charismatic. She's done a good service to mental health in general because she's been able to package positive messages that are fairly grounded as far everything I've noticed of hers, and I'm not promoting her.
Yeah.
But it seems grounded in what we know in psychology. So that's, research wise. So she just has a great way of packaging and bringing that to people in a way that makes sense to them. And to be honest, that's a criticism I have of the field of psychology, is a bunch of pinheads, doing research in labs and writing books that really are only for us. And we haven't done a good job as a field getting the info out to people. And so Brene Brown's one of those that has done a good job bringing it out. So I don't, other than that, I've never read a Brene Brown book. I've seen quotes and I've listened to her talk a couple of times about that kind of thing.
So the name of the first book again?
Learned Optimism. Okay. And you can even get there's an audio version.
You said there was 2 books, and I kind of know where you're going with this, but coming from 2 divorced guys, marriage.
Right, marriage. Well, right now, with COVID, a lot of couples have been sort of trapped together, and I've known some couples where that's improved their marriage. They're like, this is fantastic. We get more time together. We both are working from home. But that might be the exception. What I'm hearing a lot is being together, all this, we have spent a lot of years in our marriage ignoring problems that we can't ignore anymore.
And now they're coming to a head.
And I probably should have looked up the author because I'm forgetting the author's name. But Fighting for Your Marriage is a good place to start if you're waiting to get into a couples counselor. What's great about somebody who, and this is where you need to listen, just like not all teachers teach the same thing. Not all doctors treat the same thing. Not all therapists do the same thing. And so if you should be working with somebody who is a couples therapist or has a lot of background in training in couples counseling and couples therapy.
Howard J. Markman.
That's right, Markman. Fighting for Your Marriage, that's a very good place to start. And I know it seems a little awkward, but that would be a good book to read together and talk about. Now, some couples, their relationship may be so tense at this point that they can't do that. But if you're unsatisfied with your marriage or your partnership and you feel like this just isn't working out, that would be a good place to start while you're waiting to get in and work with a therapist.
But I think that's pretty common, not just with, marriages, but with the pandemic. Is a lot of people were isolated and left by themselves and trying to figure out what's going on. And so reading's not a bad way to get your mind wrapped around it and figure out what you want to do. And are we fighting for something worth fighting for? And I would say the answer is yes.
Oh, absolutely.
For the most part, you got to give it what you can.
One of the valuable things about reading, actually just the act of reading a book.
It's fundamental.
That's what they tell us, right? But what's really great about it is it takes your consciousness inward.
And we're going to find out what that is in just a second. You're listening to Project Recovery right here on KSL. Welcome back to Project Recovery Radio. I'm Casey Scott. That's Dr. Matt Woolley.
So everything we do throughout the day takes our conscious awareness outward. You know, we're listening to somebody else, we're looking at someone else, we're talking, we're on the computer, we're on the internet, we're on Facebook, whatever. We're having conversations. Our attention is leaving us, and it's external, and that's okay, but that's sort of exhausting. We don't have a lot of moments in our life where we have internal focus, bringing our attention and our consciousness back to our internal self. Reading is a wonderful way to take a message and bring it in, as opposed to spending so much time on the outward attention. Another example of that, which I know you wanted to talk about today, is meditation.
Yes.
Meditation is the ultimate way of having an inward focus. And inward focus changes how your brain is functioning for those moments, and it's very restful and restorative to your body and your mind.
So, a couple of things here. So I go to the gym 6 days a week. I'm not bragging or boasting, but I just do that for my own mental clarity, my own physical health, and everything that works for me. And so far it works, so I'm not ditching it. But I do love the 20 to 30 minutes I get on the elliptical, because I got a blown out hip, and so I can't run.
Right.
I was never really good at it anyways. But those 30 minutes I have so many conversations inside my head. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And that's about the only time in a day that I get inside my head, because of my personality and who I am. I'm always looking for this, to connect these pieces, to say this, to do this. I'm always focused outwards. And so when you say that really hit home, because I was like, oh, I do that every day. I get up inside my head and I have full-blown conversations. Like, well, what are we going to do today? And my mind will be like, well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. You know, my lips aren't moving. And I'm like, okay, cool.
And it's your internal dialogue.
Yeah, I make a mental checklist and I go, okay, these are things that really need attention today. This thing we could probably push away for a little bit more. But I really do like that. And I have found myself now, I'm not a meditator like you are. I'm in case of emergency type meditator. You know what I mean? Where there's like a fire extinguisher behind a glass.
I like it.
And so, like, I don't know if it's the holidays or whatever it is, but I've been getting panic attacks a little more frequent.
Oh, okay.
Not debilitating like they once were, because a lot of them were alcohol induced and coming off that, but where I wake up in the middle of the night and I just
feeling it.
Yep. And so I do that, the corner breathing, the 4-square breathing.
Good.
And close my eyes and take me to somewhere and I let the memories pass over. I acknowledge them and send them away. But in the old days, a bad memory would come and hang over me like a dark cloud. And then I would take that son of a gun everywhere with me all day long. And it would just dominate the rest of my day.
Let me ask you this, because some people, believe it or not, would say, well, but if I try to, push that away or deal with that in a different way, then I'm going to forget to work on that problem. So was it ever helpful to you to have that dark cloud following you around?
Never.
Yeah.
Never. And because
that's an excuse I hear from people occasionally on why they shouldn't do the meditation and that sort of thing.
My mind races 1,000,000 miles an hour. So when bad thought comes in here, there's like a corral of a bunch of other bad thoughts going, oh, he's on the bad thought train. Let's get in there. In there. You know what I mean? And next thing I know,
I'm next.
Yeah, I'm surrounded by all of them. So, and some of them are legitimate. Some of them are silly. But in my mind or in my conscience, I think this needs some attention. So sometimes I'll go, well, that's just silly, and I'll pass it down. Mm-hmm. And sometimes over the course of a week, the same thought will come over 4 times and I'll go, okay, well, I think we probably ought to deal with this. There's probably something here that we've got, you know what I mean? It's popped up enough to where I've probably got to do this.
But it's the meditation that helps you determine what needs to be dealt with and what doesn't, right?
Yeah, and if it hangs over my head, then I'm ignoring my kids or I'm ignoring my other obligations, and I got to do that, and I can't carry that around all day because I've got other things to do. But I know it's there. I send it down there, and I make a mental note of it, and I go, okay, we've got to get to that. And if I don't get to it, it'll come back.
Yeah, if it's important, it'll come back.
Yeah,
right?
And sometimes I just gone. But I do like meditation. I should be better, and maybe that we talked about in the first segment is that maybe I should get better at that and try to work on it.
Well, I think anybody who's so inclined, some very traditional transcendental meditation twice a day, it's hard to beat that. However, finding meditative activities is also a really good thing to do. And I think you mentioned two of them today. One of them is when you're on the elliptical, and the other is when you're working out. Now, sometimes I know working out, you may be social and talking to somebody, but when you're in those moments, going for a walk, going for a bike ride, you're on the elliptical, these sorts of moments when you can be internally focused, calming and quieting your mind, they have the potential, at least, they're not always, but they have the potential to be sort of meditation light. And so at least that's something you do every day.
Now, we're going to throw Ryan, our producer, he's just filling in for Josh, who's on vacation, a little curveball here.
Oh, yeah.
Because we've got some guided meditations that Dr. Matt did a while back. And so I'm going to have them repost those to the top of our our links. And so if you ever wanted to take a guided meditation or just see what it's about, we have, I think, 3 of them. And Dr. Matt will take you on there and just give it a taste, give it a test, see what you like.
Yeah, those are fun to do, and there's no risk in it. It's one of those things that's great. You can't, it's
not going to cost
you
anything.
Risky.
Nope.
Yeah.
All right, so you brought something with us all the way from the beautiful city of Bountiful, Utah.
Right. I wanted to share some holiday cheer, the traditional Bountiful holiday gift of the Pace's Darien footlong hot dog.
Oh, hot dog.
Yeah.
Associated with Christmas.
It's
not like monkey bread or chocolate-covered pretzels.
Bountiful, anybody who's been to Bountiful, they know.
I've been to Bountiful.
Bountiful's known for, at the holidays, everyone sharing with friends and family the Pace's Darien footlong hot dog. Did you know that? Did you know?
Roasting on an open
that's our version in Bountiful.
Yeah.
No, none of that's true. I'm trying to start a new tradition, though.
Well, let's see these
Bountiful.
Yeah. I mean, I've been to the Pace's Darien. We get Pace popsicles at my house, and they're
Yeah, now these are the real deal. These are the real deal.
You got one for Ryan?
Incoming, Ryan. You ready? Catch that hot dog. There you go.
Throwing hot dogs in the studio.
Incoming.
I'm pretty sure there's a no eating or drinking rule in this.
There is. Okay. We're told not to eat or drink in.
Oh, my gosh.
But this is the holiday Bountiful Paces.
Split down the middle, it looks like.
Split down the middle, grilled. With the skinny bun. You don't want too much bun. You want just enough bun.
I like big buns, and I don't.
And you cannot lie. Yeah, I know. But this is a big bun. It's just long. It's a long bun. A long foot-long hot dog. Okay, I want everybody, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays from me and Bountiful to you guys.
Oh, you want to touch hot dogs?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Kind of got weird there for a second.
I'm toasting you, but I don't want you touching my hot dog.
Okay, gotcha.
All right, here we go.
Uh-huh. Is there relish on that?
There's relish. You have 3 hot dog ingredients. You should never have more than 3.
Okay.
You should always have the relish.
Yeah.
Ketchup, not too much.
Uh-huh.
And a good strip, 1 line, mustard. Yellow mustard, nothing fancy.
That's a good dog.
That is a good dog. That's the holiday. Do you think this is going to catch on?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it will. Look at Ryan. I think he's looking up houses in Bountiful right now. He's planning to move.
Right next to Pace's. Mm-hmm. Go get you a Pace's popsicle and a holiday hot dog. As we end this episode of Project Recovery and the new year lurking just around the corner, I want to say thank you to everybody out there who has made this podcast a reality. Without our guests, without KSL, without Bonneville International, without Dr. Matt, without my girlfriend, without my ex-wife, without my kids, I mean, really, this wouldn't be possible. Without our friends at KnowYourScript.org. I mean,
those guys are amazing, and they give us the backing to be able to do the show. We miss Josh, but we have Ryan today.
Yeah.
I mean, we have great producers and great support here at KSL.
The crazy thing is that this has become a legitimate community. It's helping people. It's giving people a better understanding of loved ones who are going through addiction, which what we said when we started this 3 years ago is that's what we wanted, just to have a open conversation, a better understanding of what addiction is. I was going to do this thing on my Facebook, and I'm still going to do it. When I was in radio, 20 years ago, we would do fundraisers for breast cancer awareness. And one of the things we'd do is we'd sit down in an arena, and we'd say, everybody at a table, and we go, raise your hand if you've been affected with breast cancer. And you get 4 or 5. Now raise your hand if you or someone you know has been affected by breast cancer. Or then it would go to someone who's lost their life. And by the end of the speech, everybody was standing up.
Yeah.
Now, if you did that with addiction right now, everybody in that room would be standing up. But 10 years ago, you'd have the same results, but no one would be standing up because people would be worried about what people were going to say about them. The stigma.
Right.
And I think we're doing a lot here to reduce and lessen the stigma when it comes to addiction because it really is affecting everyone. I don't know anybody out there who hasn't been affected by some sort of addiction.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you haven't asked the right questions.
You're not aware.
Yeah.
You're not aware. Yeah.
So thank you. We want to wish you a happy and merry new year, and may everything come to you. And remember, you don't need to be a new you in the new year. Just work to be a better you.
Love it.
Love you. I love everybody out there. Thank you for stopping by. This is Project Recovery. And what is it, Dr. Matt?
Hey, Project Recovery, it's a KSL podcast.
I love what you did there.
The contents of this program are for informational purposes only. The program is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician, licensed therapist, or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you've heard on this program. KSL does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the program. Reliance on any information provided on the program is solely at your own risk.